just really jump into the topics here, and we gotta talk Sonic the Hedgehog. Obviously, rather controversial in regards to the behind-the-scenes work of getting the character on screen, and a lot of people were questioning whether or not it would actually do anything on Valentine's weekend when it got pushed back because of all the edits. I think it can safely be said it was worth it. The movie itself, fine, fun, family film, and at this point is on to record 57 million for the 3-day weekend, 68 million for the 4-day holiday weekend, because thank you, President's Day, and beats the record for video game movies, which was set by Detective Pikachu last summer. So when you think about it, the highest rated, highest grossing at that point in regards to a video game movie came out right after Avengers Endgame in May, in the summer. And Sonic in February at Valentine's Day beat it. That in itself says loads about the marketability of this movie.
Are more the marketability of this character. If you really think about it, over the years, this Sonic the Hedgehog has had so many bad movies, so many bad TV shows.
Well,
But
bad games more so than the other stuff. I think as far as the TV shows, only Sonic Boom was really like, ugh.
By the way, the doll behind you is Sonic Boom.
Well, there you go. You know that's why it's behind me. You know, it doesn't get the full cast.
But but at the same time, like some characters, they have a bad video game or there's some bad press and they go away for a while because people don't want to deal with them. I feel Sonic has always had such a cool factor that even when he comes out with something bad, people still like him. It's there's something about that character. Would you agree with me or disagree with me?
I would say so. Sonic is kind of like, if I could categorize it, he's pretty much just like a certain comedian. Sometimes some jokes hit, sometimes some jokes miss. But anytime he comes out with something, it always brings up a good amount of press, a good amount of fanfare. People love him regardless of how bad or good his material may be. I'm talking about Dave Chappelle, all right? It all comes back to Dave Chappelle.
I was trying to think of some joke to bring him up, but I couldn't.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's pretty much the appeal of people like Sonic, people like Dave. It's like, regardless of what comes from them, there's always just like this gravity, this almost innate charisma that comes from them. And mind you, this is a Sonic that is, I would say, somewhat different than what you've gotten in like the cartoons and the games, because he always had like that too cool for school kind of factor. This one's neurotic. You know, he's had some problems being by himself for many years. He's almost like schizo.
Would you say the character in the movie actually seems a little more likable than any of the other portrayals in the past? Because personally, I can probably either relate to him or like him a lot better than I have other versions in cartoons and games.
I would say so, because normally Sonic's always kind of had like this cocky, we get through it sort of demeanor. It's like, well, I'm Sonic, so of course we're going to win. It's no problem. But this one, he sees his power as a blessing and a curse, which in many forms it would be. Anytime you've seen something with like a speedster, whether it be the Flash, whether it be Quicksilver, which boy did they take a lot from X-Men in this movie. But when you see those people, they always see like the positive and the negative of who they are and what they can do. And I think this Sonic gives you that more so than any version beforehand. And it makes sense to do so, considering this is like an origin story. This is like pre-first game. So that's why you see a lot of like little bits and pieces that tie into the franchise that normally would be like, okay, well, they're just doing that for the fans. But no, this actually almost gives you like an explanation that why he has the shoes or why he has maybe an affinity for chili dogs. It's all these little nuances that if you weren't a fan of the character, it just makes him a little bit more enjoyable. But then when you know the character, it's like, wow, that's actually a very clever way to tie that in.
Now, the funny thing about the chili dogs is the chili dogs was only popular in the awful cartoon from like the early '90s.
But that's the thing.
But
it takes from all franchises.
But I think everyone recognizes that though. Like they always associate chili dog with Sonic, even though it was only that one awful cartoon that associated it. And I saw that with our friend Steve, and Steve, very excitable guy at times. the minute he saw him like start stuffing chili dogs down his throat, he just started laughing. It's like I don't know, I can't do Steve, but
But no, that's the I think that's the beauty of like this kind of movie where if you're starting from like a fresh palette and you're introducing everything, then you can introduce whatever the hell you want in any degree. Like obviously the whole "Gotta Go Fast" line, that came from the Sonic X television show because of the theme song. The chili dogs, yes, that came from the cartoon. A lot of the video game references, the emblem on his bandana when he's doing the nunchucks. You can pull from everything that you want to, and you can fit it in because this is all the beginning. This all just leads into everything else that we know. And obviously, if I do believe there is going to be a sequel, they kind of have to have a sequel after this kind of an opening.
Yeah, that much money. Plus, they and I should point out right now, we will be talking some spoilers here because there's no way to really avoid them in this film.
Well, not to mention the spoilers aren't exactly like spoilery. I mean, as far as the fate of Robotnik, you saw that in the trailer. Well, you knew where that was going.
It wasn't even in the trailer. I thought
it was in the trailer.
It was a picture that he put out. It's like, see, he does look like Robotnik because the initial Jim Carrey in the film doesn't really look like Robotnik.
No, but that final scene where he like pulls down the goggles and his mustache is all braided out, that's him on the Mushroom Planet. That's where he ends up at the end of the movie.
By the way, Steve was asking me this. Do you think that was a reference to Super Mario? Because, consistently throughout the film, he was like, I don't want to go to the Mushroom Planet.
I think it's a clever little tongue-in-cheek sort of thing, because mind you, there is a level called Mushroom Hill Zone.
Oh, there was?
There is a level like that in the video games.
I forgot about that.
No, but I mean, it doesn't look like this planet, though. And the fact that it's just so much mushroom. Like, oh my god, it's so much mushroom. I almost was hoping that, someone said something like kingdom. I was hoping the word kingdom would just pop out, but maybe they couldn't, so the safest way was just saying mushroom planet, mushroom world, mushroom planet. I get it. And mind you, there's the one scene where he's like looking at the map and deciding, okay, now I have to go to the mushroom planet. You see all those other planets, those are marked off. I've got to think those are like references to other levels too. Places that we could possibly see in a sequel if they're jumping from Earth to the Mushroom Planet, if Robotnik is still there, or back to Mobius, which, mind you, they never call it Mobius, but I imagine that's what the island is.
Yeah, and that's why I was thinking, too. But they always yeah, you're correct. But I don't know. I'm going to stick on positives for now, because I really like to stick with positives. And
did you like the movie? That's the important
thing. I did. Yeah. I did not think it was a well-made movie, but it was by far a very fun movie, especially if you're a Sonic fan.
Well, here's the thing. Okay. Let me just preference this. What do you mean by not a well-made movie?
Well, like I said, I want to stick on the positives first. I have a whole list of cons here.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
you're that disparaged.
Let's see what's on my list here. More holes in the plot than on the Gen J Turnpike.
Jesus.
But there was.
It's a kids movie. I mean,
it was, and like I said, it's hard to grade a movie like this because if I was 70, and I thought about this even before we started recording today. If I was 7 or 8 years old, I would have loved this movie. I would have gotten it on DVD. I would have watched it over and over again.
Right.
I think though the problem ends up being when you do grow. I'm a grown up going to see a kids movie. Like I'm grading on a curve on this film because I did enjoy it, and you have to take the good, but it's hard to still avoid a lot of the problems when you are old enough to catch these problems.
Right, but you have to go in with a sense of disbelief. I think anytime you're going into a movie where you are not necessarily the target demographic, you have to just go in with like a clean slate of mind.
But there's stuff there that just doesn't even make sense to if you were like suspending the disbelief.
Okay, give me a for instance.
All right, at the very end of the film,
all right.
Robotnik has figured out a way to chase Sonic at the same speed that Sonic moves, and they're going from place to place. Now, just before this happens, they pushed the two human main characters in there, Tom and I can't think of her name.
Pretzel Girl.
Pretzel Girl. We'll go Pretzel Girl.
Donut Lord and Pretzel Girl.
By the way, I do want to bring that up because that was clever. I didn't know why they were doing that stupid joke, and it came back later on. I do want to bring that up. But the rings in this movie are portals, and he uses one of these rings just before this big chase scene with Robotnik to throw them back to their hometown, Green Hill. And then they do this really fast-paced chase, and then they end up in Green Hill at the end. But it's like, it's very fast. It's not supposed to be that long. But by the time they get back to Green Hill, it's nighttime.
Right.
And it's like, why is it nighttime? It was daytime, like, not too long ago. It's there. I don't feel enough time changed to get that dark. In addition to that, like, the human characters who are now over there, they just kind of wander out into the scene. Like, what the hell were they doing? Were they trying to find out what was going on with Sonic?
I mean, yeah, they were probably just heading back from the barn, and that was probably at sunset. So by the time they got back there,
but it didn't look like sunset. It looked like it was still like maybe midday.
That's the country, man. It's like the sun can go in an instant.
No.
There's no amber glow or, you know.
Admit that's a plot hole.
I'm just saying, considering you're going from like planet to planet and like country to country, there's not necessarily a way of discerning that time is relative in all of these particular spaces.
So they were
rings,
running that fast for that long that it like hours passed by?
No, I'm just saying that it's quite a possibility that just simply jumping through the hoop, it puts you when you have to be there or when it's convenient for the time and space to work. There's no guarantee that everything's going to be at the same time.
You're making up stuff to make sense of the plot hole.
I'm still filling it in. You're just disparaging it.
That the movie didn't even come up with.
How do you know it didn't come up with? I mean, the fact that you're going into this kind of lore for something so trivial. I mean, does it matter? I mean, for all we know, we could easily just say it looked cooler at night with the lasers and everything.
I'm sure that's why they did it, but it still didn't make sense to the plot. There was a lot. The writing in this was very, very rushed. That's
gotta go fast, man. It's in the title.
Why does none of this in the script make sense? Well, you told me I got to go fast.
Yes. We already spent enough time just trying to get the design right, which obviously paid off.
Which they didn't the first time. Even stuff like, and that was another thing. A lot of stuff was very, very rushed. The friendship between Tom and Sonic, like Tom very, very quickly just accepted, oh, it's a blue hedgehog. All right, I'll drive him down to where he needs to go. He's my new best friend. But they did like the buddy, like, you're not really my friend. And then like a few hours later, okay, you're my best friend. It's just.
He was friendly to animals to begin with. I mean.
But it felt rushed.
Well, I mean, he's not going to be Sonic's main friend. That's where all the other characters from Mobius come into play. So, I mean, unless you're really going to create this universe where it's like Sonic and a human are going to be continuing on for the entire series.
So you're saying you went to this film and you saw no flaws within the script, no flaws with any part of the plot?
The thing is, with movies, especially kids' movies, there's always going to be issues. There's always going to be flaws. Does that necessarily...
No, there's not. There's good movies out there that were beautiful and we can still watch to this day.
Such as?
My brain is fried. Ninja Turtles. The original 1990.
There was definitely issues with Ninja Turtles.
Such as?
Well, I mean, for instance, is Leonardo the leader or is Raphael the leader? I can't tell.
That's your argument, is who's the leader?
The social dynamic of the Turtles was completely different from what we got in the cartoon series, so anyone that went to go see the live-action Turtles... Not to mention the whole, him fighting Casey Jones thing. It's like, when did we ever see Casey Jones take the mask off in the cartoons? No. Instead, I have to see this guy's face rather than a hockey mask the entire movie. That's not the character I grew up with.
So you're not judging the fact that everything in that movie made sense. You're just judging that things weren't like the cartoon.
Hold on. How exactly does the whole pizza thing make sense? Where did Mikey, or whichever one it was, Donnie or Mikey, it was one of the two, where did they get the money to pay the pizza guy?
them, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles finding money makes less sense
Enough for a pizza?
than it turning
A couple of coins.
than a
I would
time
prefer
shift
to.
on the Earth.
Yes!
Yes.
Yes! Dude, we're talking like New York City, where a random $10 bill is just going to go into the sewer and they're going to use that to pay for a pizza. That technically the pizza couldn't even deliver on time because there was no address because it was a grading. And yet we're already dealing with like trans-dimensional magic rings.
As someone who
that
goes
makes
in
more
and out of
sense.
New York City on a regular basis, I could say there are ways to get money, sir.
Well, I don't see Michelangelo standing on a street corner doing like a 3-card shuffle, trying to grift some people, or taking pictures in Times Square, being like, "Here's a giant turtle," don't worry about Minnie over there,
And that still makes more sense to me than shifting the time. Or the fact of, I would love to watch this movie again, even for the army stuff, which just made absolute no sense. But then again, it did take away a little bit at the end where...
I do have to feel for Neil McDonough, who played the army commander that Robotnik just usurps power from. You get an actor like that, and he's just like a nothing thing in the whole movie. Like, that kind of hurt me a little bit, because I loved what he's done in the Arrowverse, and yet they just go ahead and like throw him into this. Like the clip that they circulate with him and Robotnik going on, that's the entirety of his role in the movie.
Yeah, I thought he would have a bigger role, and he really didn't.
Well, that or just get... You know who would have been perfect for that? Jaleel White.
That is true.
Get Jaleel White to be...
with all the callbacks they did, I'm surprised they didn't try to get him into the film. Like, that would have been a nice callback somewhere.
Well, here's my theory. All right, so all intents and purposes, movie's good, making money, sequel's definitely on the way. Mm-hmm. I could see Jaleel White voicing one of the other characters of Mobius than, just having him as a human cameo. Mm-hmm. I want to see him voice Knuckles.
Oh. No, I always picture Knuckles with a deeper voice.
I know, but considering like we have this kind of Sonic right now, I'd like to see a Knuckles.
And remember, and again, a spoiler, so I do apologize. But in one part of at the very beginning of the film, the people going after Sonic were Enchilas. So
right,
I feel Knuckles is going to be echidnas. I apologize.
You're combining an echidna and a chinchilla.
Actually,
which would be so soft, I'm sure, but still.
I might be thinking empanadas, but I don't know.
A wild tribe of empanadas wanted the speed.
But speaking of voice actors, that is the other thing. We were talking about Sonic was very likable in this film. Ben Schwartz, I think, was very, very good as the voice actor of Sonic in this film.
Yeah, he was. I'd say in comparison to some of the other voice actors that you've gone from, say Sonic Boom or even the video games, I don't know if it's because of his work on DuckTales, but he pulls off excitable neuroses very well in voice form.
And I was watching a few interviews with him. It seems like that is a bit him too. So it's like I feel like he was very well cast.
Yeah, he's got a nice little bit of energy to him, as does Jim Carrey as a Robotnik. Regardless of whether or not you say he looks the same, he just ate up the scenery so well, and I was so happy to see Golden Age Jim Carrey, even just for this one bit of a movie. Because don't get me wrong, yes, it was cheesy, but it wasn't Mr. Popper's Penguins. And the thing is, Jim Carrey is part of the influence that even got me into acting. All right, when I was in middle school and I saw the trailers for Ace Ventura and The Mask and Dumb and Dumber, 1995 was just a banner year. All right, and he just was shooting it out of the park. And I see these trailers, and I want to be like that. I want to entertain to that degree. And being able to see that kind of Jim Carrey come back, especially after all the painting and stuff and all of his new age universal sort of transcendentic sort of thinking, the beard, the show Kidding, I'm Dying Up Here. He's done a lot of deeper work lately. Mm-hmm. Just to see him back to that form and be able to see that he still got it. Oh, I love that so much.
I feel like a good portion of the movie, and again, I'm not going on the attack with the story too much, even though I think I've now well established.
Yes, 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 yes.
But I feel like because of the lack of plot, also it helped Jim Carrey out because I think they just threw Jim Carrey in there and like, Jim, just do whatever you want. Like then
Well, even when you talk to him in interviews,
there was an entire
yeah.
dance scene in there. Like that doesn't seem like something they had for that film. That was probably Jim like, well, can I just do this big dance scene and I'm gonna run from a T-Rex and do this and that.
Why not?
I'm not saying why not. I'm just saying, like, I think they just kind of let Jim.
Genius.
I think they just let Jim Carrey be Jim Carrey in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, you could even see it in interviews. It's like whenever they would go ahead and try to talk about him and his role in the movie, and talk to him about like what it's about and him being cast and his method. You can tell like he doesn't know half the stuff he was doing. He doesn't know anything about the lore. He doesn't know much about the video games or any of the television or any of it.
So this was probably just a cash grab to him.
Possibly, but you know what? I'd like seeing him in a franchise.
Now here's another thing. He is very well. He's very well known for not wanting to do sequels, and that's why like 2 of his first movies, which had huge franchise potential, never really got proper sequels. Except for Ace Ventura, he did do 1 sequel for that, and then.
But it didn't perform as well as the first one, obviously.
Even though I think that one's even better than the original, in my personal,
that's a debate for another day.
Yeah, but do you think he'll like now that he's older and maybe even wants more of the money than the accolades because he's been around long enough that he doesn't really need it as much anymore? You think he might just keep coming back for Sonic sequels for a paycheck?
I think so, only because I am almost certain that maybe Dr. Robotnik won't be as centrally themed in the next movie as he originally was in this. Only because, obviously, now you're bringing in other elements from the franchise, other characters from the franchise. They're going to need more screen time, so that means less screen time probably from Robotnik. He'll be in there. His revenge will be swift and merciful, but I don't see him taking up as much screen. So if that means it's going to be a decent amount of money still for less time, I can't imagine Jim not doing it. My concern would be whether or not you get any of the regular, actors. Whether or not James Marsden will come back, which I think he should.
I can be happy without that.
Tika Sumpter, maybe not so much. I don't know if she's going to be back in.
The humans in this movie, I'd be happy if they didn't return.
I like James Marsden. I like Tom. It was a comforting sort of feel. Plus, let's face it, if he's going to be living with them and then he gets like sent back to Mobius for whatever reason, Tom's going to Mobius.
No, I don't.
Yeah, he is.
And Tom don't need to go to Mobius.
Tom needs to go to Mobius.
No, he don't.
Yes, he does.
He does not.
He needs to be around all the animals.
No,
I want him to look at Rouge the Bat and be like, I shouldn't be seeing this.
No, he needs to stick in.
I'm a married man.
He needs to stay in Green Hills and be Donut Guy.
Donut Lord.
Donut Lord.
Get it right.
So here's the thing, and I didn't know why they were doing this stupid joke, and I wasn't thinking about it until like the very end. But the fact that they were going into.
By the way, why does the stopwatch only say like 3 or 4 minutes?
Because I forgot to start it.
So how long have we been talking about Sonic?
I don't know. I'll add on 10 minutes. We'll make it 14 minutes. There.
Okay, fine.
So they do Donut Lord and Pretzel Girl, and it was kind of a throwaway joke all the way until near the end, where basically Sonic's gimmick in this is he compares people to food at times. So then he's arguing with Dr. Robotnik, who has a whole bunch of robots that look like eggs. He's like,
Eggman, yeah.
So what are you doing, Eggman?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's... it's not the most clever thing in the world, but I got a chuckle out of that.
But that's the thing, though. I mean, considering the look of Robotnik, how else are you really going to go ahead and get that nickname in there if he's not going to be rotund?
Yeah, it's Jim Carrey. Unless he wears a fat suit, he's never going to be that big.
Yeah, which will be interesting to see how he shows up in the sequels and whether or not they will go full bloated. Maybe he's eating too many mushrooms on the mushroom planet and he kind of balloons up.
Well, the funny thing about it is he was based off Teddy Roosevelt, who he himself was always pretty fit. So it was kind of funny.
Well, he was stocky. He had some girth to him. Definitely bigger than the other Roosevelt, who was in the wheelchair the whole time.
Yes.
Franklin.
Maybe,
yes.
maybe for a reason.
FDR.
But
reasons aside. But yeah, I'm gonna. It's gonna be interesting to see what characters they bring in, how they advance the characters they have now. It was nice just seeing Sonic with the red shoes, which I'm not sure if they were Nikes or Reeboks, but those are getting sold at some point. Kids are gonna be getting that.
Steve, I actually now I'm regretting not bringing Steve onto the podcast today because even Steve say right after he got the shoes, Steve leaned over to me and goes,
He's got the shoes?
No, he doesn't. But he leaned over to me and went, "I'd buy those."
Yeah. No, that should be marketing 101. It's like that you should introduce them in the movie, you introduce them to kids.
Yes. And so maybe in the near future, that's the thing too. It's like how many of the people who went to go see this movie were fans of the series since it debuted, like Sonic the Hedgehog, and how many were actually kids who were like, "Ooh, Sonic." That would be curious to find out.
I'd say it's probably like a 50-50 because I would imagine any adult that's like a fan of Sonic and has a kid is going to introduce him to the franchise and then show him the games, because that's the thing. That's the beauty of Sonic. Sonic, just like Super Mario, has had this lineage from like generation to generation with games constantly be putting out. Maybe some questionable quality, but he has been a lifelong franchise character for many people. You know, you necessarily can't maybe say the same about like Spyro or Crash Bandicoot or any of those. But as far as a flagship character, it's like Nintendo has Mario and Link, Sega has Sonic, Xbox has, I guess,
Halo guy,
Master Chief. PlayStation has Crash, but even PlayStation is still a newer thing than Sega and Nintendo.
Crash was their mascot, I think, at the beginning. I don't know if they really have a true mascot anymore. Maybe Spyro might even be considered more, but
I mean, at this point, Kratos is probably more of a mascot than either of them.
I think Sony has never really relied on a mascot like Nintendo or any of the other. I think we feel like, oh, it's a video game company. We have to associate a character with them. PlayStation tried that at the beginning. I think then they realized, oh, we don't.
Well, Xbox did too. And the thing is, they are franchises. They are brands beyond gaming. You know, Microsoft was a thing before the Xbox. Sony was a thing before PlayStation. So they really don't need it because they have the name recognizability.
Nintendo's older than both of them.
Yes, true. And all the more reason you needed a figurehead, maybe, to like drive what it is.